Call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Mayor Stone is absent. All other members are present. Approval of the agenda. September 16th, regular meeting. I'm sorry, approval of the agenda. We have a change to 6B, the fitness playground report, and also 7E. Any other changes, Vicki? Sorry? Any other changes to the agenda?
I have an addition on 10D on the consent agenda.
Oh, okay. Council, any other changes? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Joe, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Approval of the minutes, September 16th regular meeting. I didn't see anything to change. Council? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Joe, a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public open forum. If there is anything outside of what's on the agenda this evening that the public would wish to speak to the council about, this will be your chance. Anyone who would like to speak to the council? Third and final time, anyone who would like to speak to the council? Our public open forum is now closed. This will move us into the public hearings. I'm going to recess the regular meeting and open our public hearings. We have two public hearings before us this evening. One is the proposed assessment for unpaid city and utility charges, also the proposed assessments for the 2020 improvement project. I'm going to read some rules quickly. It is our intention that everyone has the opportunity to be heard. If you wish to speak, please sign in on the sign-up sheet at the back of the room. The procedure is as follows. We'll have a presentation by staff followed by questions of staff. Then an opportunity for public input. Please raise your hand. When recognized, approach the podium and state your name and address for the record. State your comments and position. No one will be allowed to speak a second time until everyone has had a chance to be heard. First, we will hear questions for clarification. Second, we will hear public in favor of the proposal. And lastly, public against the proposal. After everyone who wishes to speak has had the opportunity to be heard, the hearing will be closed. After closure of the public hearing, the council will deliberate and take action as appropriate. Members of the audience do not participate in the council's discussion unless a majority of the council concedes to hear additional information or questions. The hearing is now in session. So first we have proposed assessments for unpaid city and utility service charges.
So the first public hearing tonight is that the City Council at its September 2nd meeting called for a hearing to be held on October 7th to consider the assessment of unpaid utility and service bills. State statute allows for the city to apply certain unpaid bills or service charges against property tax. I did include a listing of the proposed assessments in the amount of $2,749.33 in your packet. These include a combination of delinquent utilities from the public utility, lawn mowing, sidewalk repair, and sidewalk snow removal. To each assessment is included in that assessment is a $100 administration fee that gets applied because of the assessment and the extra work that goes into collecting that. And this will get forwarded to Stearns County on November 15th. So anybody can still pay it here at City Hall up until November 15th. After that, it goes to the county and it will be on the property taxes for 2021. This is at 4% and it's just one payment with taxes in 2021. As of this date, I did have one person before I did the packet come in and he did pay his account. Other than that, the rest of them are still open.
Okay. Do we have any questions from participants for clarification? Anyone to speak in favor or anyone opposed? Gentlemen wish to speak? No? Okay. I'll ask a second time. Anyone wondering for Need questions for clarification? Public in favor or public against the proposal? You can speak now. Third time, anyone need clarification, wants to speak in favor or against? Okay, that'll move us on to our second assessments for 2020 improvement project.
Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council, member of the public. Tonight we'll be having our final assessment public hearing for the 2020 Capital Improvement Project. Those two sections of the project are located here. We have a north portion of the project, which is Elm Street North and Lake Street, and then we also have the south portion of the project is Elm Street South, and that is from 4th Street down to where it connects on to Grove Lake on the south end there, as shown. The procedure for this will be that we will give a brief presentation today, show you those costs, those final costs as they're coming in. Then I'm going to turn it back to the council for any clarifying questions that they may have, and then I'll come to questions, comments from the public. The goals accomplished with this project, first was water main. Water main was replaced, aging infrastructure. The water main had been in since the 1950s. Also to increase the capacity of that water main and increase the fire flows in those areas affected. Sanitary sewer is replacing the aging infrastructure. Once again, that infrastructure was installed back in the 1950s. Stormwater, we actually increased our capacity to a 10-year design, which is our new, more designed in more recent years. We have increased capacity for runoff on North Elm Street, increased some inlet capacity on North Elm Street, and we also increased the quality of our stormwater lake up on Lake Shore as well, where the the discharge that goes into Sauk Lake as well. On the street side, it was a replacement of aging and deteriorated roadways on both of those two sections. On the south section, we actually had remnants of the old granite curb that was installed many years ago, as well as came across some granite pavers that were actually underneath near the south end of the intersection that we came across. They've been there for, we're not even sure how long those had been in there, so it was interesting to find those things. I'm going to turn it over for the rest of the presentation to Chuck Bozer. Chuck Bozer is the assistant engineer up here, and he's going to lead you through the rest of the presentation. Chuck?
Thanks, Keith. So back at feasibility stage of this project, we just wanted to run through a few things that the feasibility did not include. We had some major scope changes from feasibility to now in the final design. Those were on Elm Street South. We had some major intersection changes on Elm Street and Grove Lake Street. We extended the curb and gutter, pedestrian sidewalk, and changed the travel corridor in that area to increase vehicle and pedestrian safety. On the north side of the project, we increased the street width on Lake Street from around 29 feet to standard 32-foot face-to-face. And that was to accommodate a street parking on one side, adequate street parking. We also extended the pedestrian route on Elm Street North from Lake Street to 4th Street. And that increased some pedestrian safety in the area. Before I run through some of these costs, we did keep costs separate from the two portions of the project. So all accessible costs were kept separate on the north end, and those costs that were involved in the south end were kept separate from those. So I'll run through some of the costs come from feasibility to final. For sanitary sewer and water main PUC, we saw an increase of roughly around $8,600, $8,800 for those two. Now you'll see these costs, they moved around some, so we'll kind of try to explain those and the reasons for those. The storm sewer assessment rate significantly dropped from an estimated 15 cents per square foot to 4. Roughly that, or majority of that was due to, we identified the storm sewer between 4th Street and 5th Street. It was abandoned, so we did not need to replace that storm sewer. So that's significant cost savings. The sanitary and water service assessment rates saw significant savings as well, which ultimately led to a reduction in assessments from feasibility to final costs for those. And the street assessment rate saw an increase of around 50%, largely due to those costs on the intersection. To recap kind of what the percentages of those costs were, the assessable costs saw a decrease of roughly 3.5%. The city costs saw an increase of roughly 1%, and the PUC costs of water and sanitary sewer saw an increase of around 2%. So that was for Elm Street South portion. Now we'll jump to the Elm Street North and Lake Street portions. Here we saw a decrease in sanitary sewer costs of around 7%. We saw a large increase in water main costs of around 38%. That was due to some lower estimates in the feasibility report and some quantity estimation that was the difference there. For storm sewer, it was roughly about the same. Saw a decrease in about 12%. And again, the sanitary and water service assessment rates saw a significant decrease in those. And street assessment roughly stayed about the same, saw a decrease in 14%. A lot of these costs, they moved around from feasibility to final based on where the contractor bids and puts his dollars. Largely saw a shift of costs from service costs, smaller costs to like the large main costs for sanitary and water. Now to run through some of these percentages, the accessible costs at a slight decrease of 0.3%, pretty much stayed the same. City costs saw an increase of about 1.5%, and the PUC costs saw an increase of, or a decrease, excuse me, of about 1% for that portion of the project. Now to kind of recap where these costs lined up for total. At feasibility, we had estimated about $1.15 million for project costs, and the final costs ended up about $100,000 more, about 8.7%. And we thought we'd kind of break that apart for you to explain where that was. About $22,000 can be contributed to the North Elm Street sidewalk extension. About $5,000 can be contributed to the widening of the North Lake Street. About $30,000 can be contributed to the needed dewater for utility installation on Lake Street. So there we didn't get the soil boring report until later during final design, roughly end of January, early February, where the feasibility was done back in December. So at that point, we identified where the water table was and the need to dewater, which added some significant costs. About $20,000 can be contributed to the intersection modifications at Grove Lake Street and South Elm Street, and approximately $23,000 can be contributed to some indirect project cost adjustments. Majority of that would contributed to the project took slightly longer than what we had estimated, probably about 3 weeks. So with that, we can answer any questions from the council.
Maybe if you can, why don't you, the project isn't finished, even though this is the final assessment here. Obviously, those of you who live out there know that there's at least another layer of pavement that needs to go on there. Maybe you can just go through briefly some of the things that are left to be done, punch list type stuff, those things.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So the project won't be closed out till probably about middle of summer next year. Both streets will be getting an 1.5 inch lift of bituminous next June. We like to let the roads sit for a winter, freeze thaw, in case we have any issues with utilities, things move around. We have a lot of punch list items to do. There's some sidewalks that are cracked. Those we'll fix those next spring. We're likely going to have a few more when stuff moves around. Things will crack. We're going to replace those next spring, as well as any seeding issues. We will be addressing those as needed and probably again next year. You know, we sometimes have some winter kill that we need to address in the spring. So there's some items on the punch list that'll be getting done, but that's kind of the remaining work left to be done.
With that, we'll turn it back to the mayor, acting mayor for.
I have a question.
We'll have just a second after the council has their questions answered, then you'll have an opportunity to ask your questions. Does the council have any questions about these assessments? We'll open it up to the public now. If you would like to have your question answered, just approach the podium, state your name and address.
Gail Felling, 543 Lake Street North. So we just had the hydro seeding done today. Is there something we're supposed to be doing in anticipation for helping this along, or do we just wait till spring to see what happens?
Sure.
So for seeding, we sent out a newsletter a little while back to all the folks. It kind of ran through some of the final turf establishment procedures. Watering is one very good thing we can do to get some of that seed starting to grow. We're kind of at the end of the growing season, as you know, so for sure start watering in the spring right away will really help. Fertilizing in the spring will really help, even maybe a fall. We did apply a fertilizer this fall with that seeding application, so you can add more, or I would probably suggest on waiting until the spring to maybe give it another shot of fertilizer. So,
Is that typical to have the hydro seeding done in the fall?
yeah, it's very typical, yep.
Okay.
Would you say, I'm sorry, would you just respond to what I said?
The acting mayor asked if it's typical to seed in the fall, and it is.
But not this late.
It's a little outside the MnDOT seeding dates. We still, it's still a good time to seed. We're hoping that it's going to take, and like we said, if there's any issues next spring, we'll certainly get that grass to turn green and grow next year. So.
It's technically considered dormant seeding.
Yeah, it kind of is. It's technically considered dormant seeding at this time. May see some germination, but largely maybe not. You know, it's supposed to be 80 on Friday, or yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions for our engineers or the council?
Dana Boucher, 519 Elm Street South. All right, I've got a lot of questions here. Before I get into them, I need to complain. On the project update newsletters that came out, I assume you'll have copies of this. It very plainly says, if you would like to use this opportunity to upgrade your private lines, sewer lines, water lines, please contact our private excavating company or your private excavating company or the project's general contractor. So in January, if you remember, I asked this exact question. And I was told, yes, I could do this. So on June 10th, I did exactly what was advised in here. And I met with the general contractor, the manager of the general contractor. And he came out within about 10 minutes. And he was very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from him. In fact, he just stood in my lawn and said, I think your sewer goes right here. And he was right on. But he said he didn't want his crew working on it, so I arranged with another contractor, and he said the two of them would work together. And it was all taken care of. Third week of July, without any notice to me, suddenly my sewer is dug up in the yard, or up to the point off the easement into my yard. And there was no attempt to replace the sewer, even though I was told that they would work together to do that. So I did what I was advised to do in your newsletter. And this really calls into a question of accountability. I'm paying $20,677.76. And I can't even get my sewer replaced. I know I have to pay for that on my side of the line. And I was prepared to do that. So now I'm paying $20,000 for a state-of-the-art sewer out in the street with a decrepit sewer going into it. Now, Keith did say he would hold back on the sidewalk for a while, but every contractor I scrambled to get at that point said September, middle of September at the earliest. So I'm very let down by that. I don't expect the city or anyone to ever come after me about an out-of-code sewer. I did my due diligence to replace it, and it just seemed like there was no accountability. No one wanted to step in and take charge of that issue. Number 2, landscaping. You've all received emails from me on this. It makes no sense to me how it was done. Now, Keith in his last email said that there was a 2-step process. A process of putting in black dirt, which was probably more closer to class 5 than it was black dirt, and then a fine grading process. And I stand here and I assure you, with witnesses, that there was no 2-step process. None. In fact, as we were leaving, they came in and hydro-seeded again, but there was no fine grading as we were promised. Once again, accountability. I'm paying $20,000 for this project. Okay, now I have some questions. Just 2 quick questions from your PowerPoint here. What's the new sewer stub charge? We went a little fast, so I wasn't able to write that down.
Sure, for Elm Street South.
Yeah. It went from 15,
It's,
I got it.
1,600 to 1,122.
All right, thank you. And then the other question for you guys, before I get into general questions for the council here, is on the, or maybe this is a council question, the $20,000 intersection modification for Grove and Elm, how is that cost spread out? Does that go back to us? Is that on this chart up here?
Yeah.
Do you want to step up there?
Sure. So the roughly $20,000 for the intersection modifications, those would be included in the street assessment rate, as those are street costs largely for curb and gutter, bituminous, class 5, and other stuff like that. So, yeah.
It's on a foot basis?
Yep. So that's the street assessment rate, which is assessed per linear foot of street frontage per property.
Thank you. My question then is why? It's a modification. Now, back when this project was proposed, I gave my 2 cents worth on how that, at that public meeting, you all remember that, about how that intersection would look. So if there's a modification, why is it passing off onto me? Once again, accountability. All right, questions I've got. Sidewalk and cement, what's our warranty? 2 years. You're kidding me, 2 years? All that money, and I got 2 years, so if I get a trip hazard, if I get some movement, I'm gonna get a letter from the city and I'm gonna have to replace it. 2 years for that cost. Council, I think you can act up on that. 2 years, that's it? And if you remember, summer of 2019, we were all given letters to replace our sidewalks. And then within a year, they're ripped up. Accountability. All right, question about payment. Next week, property taxes are due in the county. If we include our payment with that property tax payment, will we run into interest? Will that be counted as a payment on time?
This one won't be at the county yet. If you want to pay it up front, you have to pay it here.
So I can't just send my money to the county?
They'll give it back. They wouldn't know where to do with it.
Yep.
So you can pay it here up until November 15th.
Okay, my case, 519, back to my sewer issue. Now, Keith has assured me that if a company comes in and ever does a sewer for me, they wouldn't have to open the road because of where it is on the easement. But I'm sorry, after this summer, I need an insurance. If I need to open that road or that sidewalk for a new sewer that should have been replaced this summer, will I be charged an assessment? I'll leave that up to the council to decide on that. Once again, accountability. I did my due diligence. Now, I spoke to the mayor last week, and he mentioned this, and you can verify this if you want. He said that the city has power of retention. So on the punch list and other things that aren't done, the city can hold back payment. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Now my question is, do I have that power? I've got a punch list in my cement. I've got this landscaping issue. Do I get that power? Something for you to discuss.
Well, are you talking about the actual project, the sidewalk and the street and the utility replacement, or your sewer line from your property to the sewer?
Well, at this point, I'm just asking if I have power of retention, and then I will give you a list of the things that are not up to my standards, not up to a $20,000 standard.
Okay.
Can I comment on that, actually? If I can go back to what we did with the Getty Street project, we did make that decision. So we can make a decision based on individual property owners that we can, if we choose to move forward with these assessments, we can say, albeit this one, when we have an opportunity to discuss it further. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vicki?
I can't hear you very well.
I'm just comparing his questions to the Getty Street project when we had one particular property owner who wanted some adjustments made before those final assessments were accrued to their tax base, or to their taxes.
Right, that would have been prior to like this meeting though.
Correct, but if we consider this, it doesn't have to be an end-all be-all for everyone. This is why we have this public hearing, so everybody gets an opportunity to discuss their individual property. So if that is an issue, it's not a retention per se, but it's an opportunity to discuss further and work it out with you. Am I wrong?
If he, I guess if you consider this his objection to it,
We are in the question phase, so
Yeah.
you'd have an opportunity to then state your objection.
Am I not objecting hard enough? All right. Thank you. That's something that I would like. I would ask for that benefit if that has been done on the Getty Street project as well. I can't really stand here and give you a dollar amount because I don't know what each little thing is worth. But I would like to have that right if it is a right. Then the final question I have on here is back to the May meeting when you took our appeal for the sewer stub at the 518 property. And I believe it was tabled for tonight. Over the summer I've been thinking about that. It didn't come up in your discussion because you didn't act upon it, but would interest accrue over the 10 years if you were to give us the 10-year alleviation, I guess you'd call it? Would interest accrue during that time? Obviously, I'm going to ask you to set aside the interest for the 10 years.
Vicki says no.
if we did a development deferral, meaning it is not assessed until developed or sold for a certain period of time. So, like we did a 2-year deferral on development deferral on Getty Street. So that it sat for 2 years before it was assessed, before it was property.
You know, I didn't speak at the May 15th meeting, but I agree with that. If we were to sell the property or develop it, obviously, we would then be making use of that sewer. And that was our whole argument, is that we have a sewer stub nowhere, basically. Okay, thank you. That's what I have. Thank you.
All right. Any other question? Oh,
May I just address one
Sure.
thing? And as it relates to items that are not up to your standard, I think is what you stated. If there are items that you're concerned about, it would be helpful for us, perhaps if you just, write them down and send what you think are issues. We will be going through those punch list items. If you send something to us that says, here's the things that I'm concerned about, we will certainly look at those as we go through those final punch lists. Yep, go ahead and send them. Okay.
Just state your name and address, please.
Kent Tengwall, 503 Elm Street South. Several questions I have. At the meeting last spring, $1.82 million. I understood all that. We're getting a new street. I understood that. Nothing was said about somebody coming one morning and taking all our mature trees out. Nothing we can do about that. They're gone. Who's going to replace the trees that I lost on my boulevard? That's a question. The sidewalk height to my property, I've got a corner city lot, was raised by 8 inches. The whole street raised by 8 inches. Your city engineer or inspector or someone came to my house and said, we got a problem. All the water's running to your house. We have to raise your whole sidewalk by 8 inches. I was very amiable. I was very, I watched those guys out there putting in their forms and all that stuff. I'm a carpenter. I know what it took for them to get to that level. I said, raise it, just do it. You'll have to curb the side of my 8 inches, of course, I can live with that 8-inch height. That's not my concern. 2 separate times prior to getting dug up, I spoke with Vicki. When the city put 5th Street and did all their work, I received my new sewer then, I received my new water then onto 5th Street. Nothing was touched on my property for municipals or anything. Gas line remained the same. I paid for, at that time, $1,900 and some odd dollars to have a curb and new sidewalk put into my Elm Street side. I was assured by Vicki that you won't have to pay for that again. I received a bill for $9,220.54. One of you two made in your mention the South Elm Street project took a hit for $20,000 and $23,000. Am I the guy that's going to pay almost 1/4 of that intersection cost? And I understand you put in a new sewer, good for you. You put in water down to the lake, good for you. Didn't change me or my stuff any, but yet I've got an elevated sidewalk. I've got a $9,000 bill, and this is the big complaint that I have. Might not seem much to you, but they put a green junction box directly in the corner of my city lot. Wasn't there before. It's some kind of communications thing. I don't do the internet. You put it on my corner. Not nicely, too, I might add. If you were to put in any one of those windmill towers south of town, you end up paying the farmer money to rent that spot. Who is the utility that has these orange cables and this green box in my yard that could give me some consideration for having to look at this ugly green box? So far, I've considered bringing in a huge rock, big enough so I don't have to look at that thing from my house. My wife didn't like the rock. She said, well, let's put up a little fence. I can put up a little fence this high so I don't have to look at that green box. Maybe they can sink it in the ground. I don't know. but it's there, and it's ugly, and I don't like it. I don't approve of that. One final little note to all your $1.82 million. In the meeting last spring, South Elm's going to get it, North Elm's going to get it, Lake Street's going to get it, and the Civic Arena was going to get some of that money to fix them. Did any of that money make it up there? I'm curious.
No.
Only because
It was
somebody
voted- It was
didn't,
voted down as an extra project that we decided not to take on.
didn't do their math, or what?
No, that's not included in that amount.
Okay. That's not my concern, because I don't drive there anyway. Dana made a good point with this 9,000. He's got 20,000. He's got 2 lots. I have 1 corner lot. New street, new curb, new sidewalk, no trees. So the question will come back to you, are you going to buy me some trees at Treetop Nursery? Like I lost 4 trees, big mature trees. This number of $9,220.54, I'm a carpenter. I don't make a lot of money. I would have to spread this out across your 10-year period. Will I be accruing interest on that? I'm curious.
Yeah,
Or
4%.
4%. So I'd almost be better off getting a loan at my bank for much less interest, or just to pay it off. Last thing I can say, I've been invited to move down to Alabama. Maybe just sell the place, let somebody else worry about the ugly green box on the corner of my property. Well, it's an enticing thought. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Anyone else with questions for the council or engineer? Sorry, Chuck will address your questions.
I would just like to add the curb assessment he received for the 5th Street project. That deduction is included in his assessment for this project. So we did, whatever he paid X amount, we deducted that from his assessment for this project.
The green box is a private utility.
Yeah, the green box, like you said, it's probably a communication line, private utility. On our project, to give you a kind of a spatially idea, the sidewalk is roughly 1 foot inside of the right-of-way. I'm not sure where the green box is, what you're talking about, but certainly we can look at that and maybe talk with the
Utility easements as well.
yeah, utility easements and see what they got and maybe help you with that, but we'd have to look at that further.
Kent, you also had a question regarding, you also had a question regarding your stormwater and sewer that had already been replaced?
It's already been done. Ken came in on 5th Street. I already went through all those pains and tribulations. It took me 3 years to get my boulevard back in shape. It's going to take another 3 years to get damage that you guys have done back into shape. I've got a kind of a nice yard. I like to keep it nice. And I've got an ugly green box to look at.
I think they're taking a look at your... In the meantime, I'll just ask if there's anyone else who has questions for the council or the engineers. Otherwise, we'll move on to speaking in favor or against. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or against the proposed assessments? If you'd like to formally put your objection on record, this will be the time. Last time to speak in favor or against. Go ahead, Dina.
Well, obviously, to make it official, I think my reservations were clear, my criticism, so I'm against on those items. And obviously, the project's in, so the whole project itself has to move forward. But on those individual reservations I raised, I would say no on those.
Okay. All right. With that said, that was the third and final time, so I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and reconvene the regular meeting. These items will have action taken later on. We're going to move on to reports and presentations. Sorry, that's city engineer. You guys are back up. Don't get cozy yet.
Acting Mayor, City Council, for an update of where the project at, what you haven't heard, or what you have just heard. The seeding was done today. They finished that up. They'll be working on raising some iron, some manhole castings in the street next week, getting some of that raised in the road. Some final touches on some curb boxes. So your water shutoffs in the boulevard, they'll be lowering those in the next week or two. Other than that, it's going to kind of quiet down out there until next year, until we get some punch list stuff done and final paving.
Okay. And that brings us to 6C, EDA report.
Okay, the EDA met in regular session on October 7th. We received the report from Sauk Center Opportunities. We have a potential industrial park development with tax increment financing. They wouldn't be constructed till spring, so we'll be working on that over the winter. We had a report from the Chamber about their retreat being postponed, and they do have a Halloween event, virtual and in-person 5K. We did revisit the offer for a portion of the city's 59 acres by Unkers, and also we received a letter of an intent to purchase the entire 59 acres, so we're working with those two developers. They are recommending the CARES business relief payments that are later on in your agenda. And also we have reviewed a potential development of the info center property, and we have a meeting with the county on Thursday regarding access from 12th Street. So those are, the EDA is has 4 projects going, and they're kind of crossing over each other. So it was a good meeting today, and we'll probably have a special meeting with them before the next regular one just to iron out some more details. So that was it for the EDA.
Thank you, Vicki. That brings us to action items. 7A, Resolution 2020-80, approving assessments for unpaid charges.
This is the resolution certifying the special assessments for the unpaid utilities, such as mowing and sidewalk repair, etc. It'll cause the formal certification of special assessments. The assessment includes the administration fee that is certified along with the invoice to the county. We have at times waived that fee if the property owner pays the invoice prior to certification. It will be mailed to the county on November 15th. So I have the one question about waiving the fee if they pay prior to November 15th. And then I'm asking for approval of Resolution 2020-80, certifying the special assessments for unpaid utility and service fees.
Council questions?
Did we waive that fee last year, Vicki?
I think we did.
We did. I didn't
Okay.
have anybody take advantage of it, but we did.
I think the last 2 years we've done that, if they pay before November 15th. But then we've also added it to the assessment if they don't.
Yeah. I'll make the motion then. We do it the same as we did last year.
So Diana's made the motion to keep the administrative fee if not paid before November 15th. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. 7B, Resolution 2020-81, approving assessment for utility installation.
What this is on January 2nd, the Sauk Center Public Utilities repaired a new sewer service line at the home of Sherry Hardigan. The repair included digging and installing a new sewer line and replacing the concrete curb and asphalt. Those costs were incurred by the public utility. As an alternative to cash payment to the utility as a reimbursement, the owner has requested that the city take payment through an assessment to her property taxes and has signed a waiver which allows the assessment without the need for a public hearing. The public utility has requested that the proposal be approved. Funds will be transferred to the utility as they are collected. I do have the attached resolution 2020-81 authorizing the certification of the special assessment. And this one is over 5 years
Still at that 4%.
at 4%.
Council questions? Hearing nothing, is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-81?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Keith. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. 7C, Resolution 2020-82, approving assessments for 2020 improvement project.
This action is subsequent to the public hearing earlier regarding the proposed assessments for the 2020 project. The City Council should consider the comments made at the hearing prior to adopting the assessment roll. If they feel the assessment roll is inappropriate, it should move to adopt. If they feel it's appropriate, you should move to adopt the attached resolution. The total amount assessed for the project is $422,050,189. Now, we did receive the one objection to the assessment, so we'd like to set that one aside because we'll have to work with him on two different things. One was his concerns that he had regarding the sewer, et cetera, and the other one would be the option to defer the sewer portion service on the vacant lot. So we get those two things that we'll work out with him, and we would then come back at the next meeting with that assessment. So what we're looking today is to adopt the assessment roll for the project minus Dana Boucher's parcel at this time.
I'll make the motion.
Questions? Diane will make that motion.
I'll
As
second.
stated by you, Vicki. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Keith. Do we want to send that to the Finance Committee before next meeting, or?
We could, but we'll reach out to him directly, and then I'll get back with the Finance Committee. And then anybody else that make comments, we'll be getting back to them directly about their concerns as well.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. Resolution 2020-83, approving sale of excess property.
So the city sold the 1975 Chevrolet truck, which was the old steamer truck, and the excess 48 by 16-foot hangar door. They were advertised through online bidding with MinBid, with the successful buyers are listed below. Brian Kirchhoff bought the 75 Chevrolet for $760, and Henry Coring bought the bifold hangar door for $2,200. So we're looking to approve Resolution 2020-83, accepting the bids for the excess property.
Were either of these bids included as like a, maybe an estimate into the purchase of new? Didn't we just approve a hangar door?
The airport one, this was we did just put a new hangar door in the airport. I
So
mean, I guess,
had we budgeted or had we thought about getting any money for the,
oh,
for selling?
actually, we were very pleased with the money we got. We didn't
Okay.
think we were going to get that kind. It was kind of insignificant, so this will be just revenue to those funds.
Good. Okay, is there a motion to approve sale of excess property?
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Motion by
second.
Diane. Second? I'll second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. 7F, approve CARES Act business relief payments, round 2.
So the second round of grant requests were recommended by approval by the EDA today. The first round totaled $116,923.72. The second round has actually been amended to $137,889.50. They go to Mary Omscheid Agency Farmers Insurance, Center Cleaning, AB Salon and Massage, Sauk Center Family Dental, Advanced Chiropractic, Isaac's North Star, American Tap, LPW Endeavors, Wildflower Nails, Wax Pot, Hairstylist on Main, Gwen's Integrated Healing, Massage Intuition LLC, Artistic Image Marthaler, Artistic Image Durkis, Artistic Image McNorman, Midtown Sales and Service, and M&M Corner Bar. So what we're looking today to is approve the second round payments for the Small Business Relief Grant Program.
Questions? Looking for a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Joe, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Keith. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, labor agreement negotiations.
Hope I have a 7G.
Oh, sorry. We do?
Did that
Yes.
not get on the
No.
agenda part?
It's the pay request.
Wasn't on the new agenda.
Not mine, okay.
Okay, so I have the pay request number 4 for Brightbot, number 7G. It's received in the amount of $136,304.81. The total cost of the contract was $954,481.34, of which they have earned to date $768. So we still have that outstanding. We have the retainage that we've held back, plus the additional work that he is expected to do next year. So we're looking to approve the pay request for $136,304.81 to Brightbot Construction Company.
Questions? I'll look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Diane, is there a second? I'll second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. Now we can move to unfinished business.
Okay, sorry about that. Labor negotiations, so the city received its renewal for health insurance for 2020, and with this information, the next negotiation meeting with the labor union is scheduled on October 12th. The committee did meet on Thursday, October 1st, to review the impact of the insurance and other submittals. They'll be presenting its response to the unit's proposal on Monday, and as you know, we need to have this approved hopefully by December 31st, and it's possible that it could occur as early as Monday. So now that we have those numbers. So just kind of keep you updated on where that committee is at with the labor units for Public Works and the police. No action requested at this time.
Okay. New business, 9A detached petition.
We received a petition to detach a portion of Sherman's Farms, which is a home site that abuts the farm. Currently, the city township line dissects the farm proper with ag land in each jurisdiction. Stearns County is currently reviewing a proposed plat which will factor the exact boundary expected to be included in that detachment petition. I have received that boundary now. I'd expected the council will consider a resolution to support at October 21st meeting. So that's coming up, and that's up on the northwest edge of the city to kind of correct that line where it cuts the farm in two.
Okay. All right, that brings us to the consent agenda. We have a schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $362,972.77, with paid claims of $243.82 for a total of $363,216.59. Resolution 2020-85, accepting contributions from the Men's Card Playing Group of $65.45 to the Senior Center, from Michael and Nancy No of $100 to the Police Department, $100 to the Ambulance Department, and $100 to the Fire Department. The city would like to acknowledge those contributions and thank them for those donations. We have a gambling application for exempt permit request from the Sauk Center Snow Cleats Incorporated for a raffle on March 20th, 2021 at American Legion Club. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I think we need to add the step advancement.
Of jungles, I'm sorry. Did you want to comment on the?
Yeah, we do have, I just have to have included in the consent agenda that Officer Dean Jungles will advance to step 5. That was actually supposed to take place on June 13th, 2020. And as with all the other union automatic steps, I guess you could call them, they just get considered in the consent agenda.
Okay. So with that, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Keith, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4 in favor, none against. Informational items.
Just have a couple informational items. The fall cleanup day is this Saturday from 8 to noon at the arena. This is the like the scrap metal day, or you can get rid of dishwashers, dryers, hot water heaters, you know, pots and pans. You can actually get rid of old TVs and monitors, computers, that type of thing. So that will be at the arena parking lot on October 10th from 8 a.m. to noon. I do have one update from Spectrum regarding their channel change lineup. And there's one other thing I wanted to bring up. There seems to be a lot of confusion with elections. If you live in the city of Sauk Center proper and you vote here in this room, you will continue to do so. We vote in person, so there is voting in person here on election day. You can actually start voting here on October 27th. So the Tuesday prior up through election day if you are there. If you're in Sauk Center Township and are accustomed to voting at the credit union, you were mailed a ballot. So I think in the paper when it talked about Sauk Center Township and Sauk Center City, it confused people. So if you voted at the credit union, you got a mail-in ballot. If you voted here at the city, you will continue to do so. So I just want to make sure people are very clear on that. And of course, then to throw another monkey wrench in there, we're also a drop-off location for absentee ballots for anybody in Stearns County if they're uncomfortable dropping their ballot in the mail. So we have 4 different things going on for elections, but we will vote here on election day as always.
Perfect, thanks, Vicki. All right, if there's nothing else, I'm going to ask for a motion.
I got a question.
Okay.
Somebody wants to know if they're going to take
You're
RV
not.
refrigerators
I knew
again.
you'd do it. I knew that was
Keith
coming.
always asks
I
that.
thought we'd get by this one without that question.
Yeah, I slipped it in.
I'm on with this then.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Diane, a second.
I'll second.
Second by Keith. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4 in favor, none against. Meeting is adjourned.